Hello everyone, Sagar once again this side. Good to see, good number, and I believe a couple of you had joined my previous session as well, which was more about CCI Sec. So just to recap on what we discussed and what is this workshop about. So just let me put down here. So we have two batches: CCI Sec version 6.1 and of course the Firewall Mastery 5-in-1. So I gave a short demo yesterday related to the sec part, which I'll once again, since I see the couple of new people joining today, so I'll just give a quick recap over this. And as I told you, I'll take a quick demo over on the Firewall Mastery today. So let me just go ahead and explain you like what these two courses are about. So of course, as the name suggests, firewall, the CCI Sec would be more into the certification from the, from the exam point of view. I know you might be looking or waiting for your CCI numbers, might be at least in 2024, and we are going to help you with that. Okay. So it's a security track as of now. Let me tell you, it's a security, the latest version. And this is the schedule of it. So we are starting with the score paper, which serves the written paper. And from the technology training, we would cover Cisco ICE, Cisco SVPN, ASA Firepower firewalls, and CCI Bootcamp. So these are the major topics for CCI Bootcamp. And in case if you guys have not watched or not attended the previous session, then I had given a very, a very detailed explanation on the CCI syllabus, the task that is being asked in the CCI certification. So the link is on our YouTube channel. Give me just a minute. Let me put that. You can just have a look after the class today. So I've properly explained on the task, the lab that we would be using for the various component of CCI Sec, starting with score, CCI Sec. Yeah, I'm just giving you the recording for the previous class. Okay, it's listed over on our YouTube channel. So I've given you the link. You can watch it later. It was a quick 1.5 hour of session where we discussed about the different labs that we would be using for score paper, for then for ACFTD, then related to the CCI bootcamp practice lab. So this was something it looks like, and we discussed about the different task by task objectives, how the format of CCI exams look like. So that is one course that I would be starting from the next weekend. That is CCI Sec. Someone who is interested into CCI Sec, you can get enrolled to this. The second course that I have here is one of the most popular, Firewall Mastery 5-in-1. Now, in this Firewall Mastery course, which is again in it, it's a 4 to 5 month or 6 month of course. We would start with Palo Alto first. Then we go with the Cisco ASA FTD. Then we go with FortiGate. We go with Checkpoint. We go with load balancer, F5 load balancer. This is more from the production perspective, not from the certification, though we would cover the certificate point of view, keeping the base as certificate and adding the topics from the production point of view. So Palo Alto would cover PCNS A and PCNSC. The Cisco ASA FTD would cover definitely the CCNP concentration paper for next gen firewalls. The FortiGate will cover up NSE 4, and we have plans to include NSE 7. Checkpoint, we will cover up CCSA, and F5 load balancer, we will cover up the LTM module. Okay, the local traffic management module that we are covering. This also takes 4 to 6 months. As you can see, if I start with Palo Alto, it will run for 1.5 months. Then we start up with the second, then we go with third. There are certain times when we take in a parallel way. Let's say Palo Alto, we have it in a weekend morning, and might be simultaneously on a different time. We have another firewall also being started up in a weekend or something. So if you want, you can club Palo with the checkpoint running in a two different time slot, but parallelly. And that way you can complete the entire course might be just in 3 months also. Okay, some prefer to have this kind of aggressive completion. Some prefer to have it one after one, so you get enough time to go through each and every topics. So today I will be giving you more details about firewall mastery, like what is the strategy to start, cover, etc. What are the things we would see here. Okay, so let me start with the curriculum. For the Palo Alto, as I was telling, it is PCNS and PCNSE. So we would cover the blueprint, and we would have our own customized lab for you guys, which you can access it over on remote. Or if you have a home lab setup, then we have a lab technician who will install this in your home lab. But only thing is these are very RAM intensive labs. So you should have minimum 32 plus GB. Otherwise, you may not run the entire lab at a shot. Might be like if you see right now, these were all powered on when I took the screenshot. If you want to have it in your home lab, but if you have only 16 GB, then might be you can power on, let's say, one instance or second instance. Once you have done couple of tasks, then you can stop them, and then might be you can go with the task that is being said in this block or something. So that you have to manage it. But we are giving you the remote lab included in the package. So for both CCI Sec and Firewall Mastery, you get 1 year each as a remote lab access. So these are very user friendly to access from any point of the world. You can even use it from your office network also. We just give a public IP over on a web-based pattern, which you can run across from any site. So let me just show you the way we usually access them. We would give you a certain URL for our labs, which is public facing. You will go to the browser. You will get the prompt, and then you will have your own credentials, and you will get into this. Okay, so this is one lab from the automation course of mine, but all the labs are having a similar fashion. You will have a URL, put in the browser, take the access, you can power on them, right click, start them, and whatever the workbook we are discussing, or whatever the live class we are discussing, we will go with step-by-step approach. Okay, so this is just a example, like to show you how it works. Okay, so you can see here in the Palo Alto topics, we have 3 instances of Palo Alto. The reason is we want to take it complete end-to-end flow. We don't want just a single Palo to be kept in a VM and just explain only about Palo Alto, that this is this, this is this. I want to show you the complete traffic flow. So someone starting from, let's say, PC1, if he wants to communicate with the PC2, which is kept in a different region or a different center. So what all things you have to allow, how the security policy works. Let's say if you want to allow VPN intermediately, right? So all the use case scenarios we will be discussing in this particular lab topology of Palo Alto. Once the Palo Alto is covered, completed, then we get into the next module. Let's say the next module is F5 LTM. And in the F5 LTM, we have two instances, because later we can show you the HA pairing. And again, I'm not sure if you are aware of load balancer, but it's a very demand in the industry. You will see a lot of times the job posted for F5 administrator or F5 LTM engineers. So you should know how to create WIP, handle the LTM, capture the traffic, do the debug over on Wireshark, create pool, might be automate also. Nowadays, since automation is very booming, you might also be aware of doing a automation on this particular devices. So we have servers in the backend, and we have a load balancer. So in this particular module, we will see how the traffics are being load balanced. So let's say the first TCP packet goes to first server. Then how does the second one takes up the second server? How does the third traffic is going to the third server? So it's something about, in and out about a load balancer. Very, very much in demand, the load balancers. And these are the some labs that we would be discussing: creation of VLAN, self IP, pool, your WIP creation, load balancing algorithm, the SNAT, automaps, iRules, profiles, health monitors, SSL certificate, high availability. These are some topic which you expect in the LTM side. Okay. After the LTM coverage, then we will get into the Cisco ASA and Firepower. So why ASA? Because it's still part of CCIE Sec. So it's not something completely end of life. At least it's still being used in CCIE Sec. So that's why I want to start with ASA. If you are familiar with ASA, then understanding a Firepower becomes much more easier as well. So what in ASA or Firepower, and how do we deploy it? How do we onboard it to the FMC manager? So that is this lab that we would be discussing. So if you see here, we have the centralized controller FMC, and then we have the appliances FTD1, FTD2. We have one more FTD over here, FTD3. And over on this side, I have deployed ASA firewalls. Okay, so first we will start from this. We will configure interfaces. We will see how the traffic is passing on between two VLANs. We will see what are the different naming conversions we use for the zones, like inside, outside, what is security level. And then we will transition to the Firepower. And in the Firepower, we will start with the onboarding. We will see how do we add policy. We will see the next gen firewall concepts over here in the Firepower. Okay. And all the remote access VPNs, etc., we can do it in this block. Again, a complete different topology for ASA Firepower learning. These are some of the labs that I have mentioned here. How do you initialize? How do you onboard? What is sub interface? How do you configure default route? And various other use scenarios. Okay. Then we go to the FortiGate. Now, FortiGate is also a very emerging. I don't say emerging; it's already in the market for a very long time. And if you know the quadrant, if you know this quadrant, so FortiGate is in the top 2 now, just behind Palo Alto. So we have a dedicated lab for that. So we have 2 FortiGate devices. We have couple of PC. We have couple of PC on the both side. We will put Wireshark captures. We will see how the packets are sourced, how the packets are being sending across, right? The different aspect from the FortiGate perspective. Then comes the checkpoint. This is the checkpoint, and you know the checkpoint has a three-tier architecture, a management, an appliance, a log, smart log, consoles. So all those will be discussed in the checkpoint, and we are covering up on the R81, which is one of the latest itself. So this is completely about checkpoint. So if you know the Middle East, they mostly have the checkpoint deployed. If you know FortiGate, the Asia Pacific and the Middle East have more of the FortiGate devices, whereas in US market, Australian market, you will see Palo Alto being used in very large demand, and Cisco ASA Firepower being the top vendor or top company. You will see them in a spread across. You will see it in multiple regions, in multiple enterprises. And once we have discussed all the five firewalls, then this is what is that bonus lab topology, which we name it as multi-vendor firewalls. So you can see that all the firewalls deployed in single lab topology, definitely one instance would take more than 64 GB to spin up. Okay, you cannot just run it in a home lab. You need a dedicated server for this to run. And the main intention of this to design was that we will see firewall concept, we can see a bit of routing switching concept, and we can also have a load balancer concept introduced into this. So where comes the routing switching? So routing switching would be all your, the LAN connections that you would be doing it in each site. So we have a different site. So let's say the site number 1 has checkpoint, the site number 2 has Palo Alto, site number 3 has FortiGate, then we have Cisco ASA Firewalls. Similar way, let's say we have another site, and you can see the sub branches. So you have a checkpoint, you have Palo Alto, you have a FortiGate, you have a ASA firewall, and on other side, what you have a load balancer deployed. See. So the task is that if I give you this brand new lab instance and ask you to configure user 1 who is behind Palo Alto, who has to access some URL. Okay, some URL, let's say cisco.com. So now you would come up with all your L2 configs. You will come up with all L3 configs. Let's say in intermediate, you have some MPLS cloud. You can configure this MPLS. So you can see this has a running MPLS config as well. So in case you want to see the complete end-to-end process or packet flow in a data centers or an enterprise, then this is something which will help you. You will learn to add policies, filter the traffic, and at this side, you will understand how to create the URLs, how to have a servers behind URLs, how do you enable the health monitor. So the task could be more from the production scenario. So the intention here is that someone who is trying to get into the network security, then this course is something which you should be a part of. All right. So this is what the lab topology is for each one of them. Now this is a random discussion. It's not a locked session. From the next weekend, we are gonna have a locked session. So today I'm just gonna show you the importance of firewalls or a network security domain. Okay. Yeah, most of the people think enterprise is something which rules the market. Actually, the thing is, when someone enters into networking, they start with CCNA, and most of them remain in the same path: CCNA, CCNP Enterprise, CCI Enterprise. But apart from this enterprise, there are other domains which are also equally important. There is security, there is data center. Now you have DevNet, automation related, right? So these are also certain domains which you should consider. And with this competition that's happening over at the job premise or at the interview, you having knowledge from security will always a plus point. All right, anyway, so come to the graph now. So you can see this is a basic survey. Okay, so this is a survey done by a group called Gartner. So these guys does a survey on different domains. So let's say on a WAN devices, or a best router in a industry, or best switches in the industry, or best security appliances, best firewalls in the market. So there are different domains where the Gartner does the survey, and the survey is based on the four quadrant. So this being the first one, this being the second, this being the third, and this being the fourth. So you will see the companies being listed out in a different quadrant. We call this as the quadrant: leader quadrant, challenger, niche player, and visionaries. So leaders are someone who is ruling at the moment, who has a very good technology, who has all AI, ML, who has a sandbox sync, who is into the deep packet inspections. So this is leader is someone who is ruling right now. So if we start something from, let's say, 10 years back. So if you see that 10 years back, the companies, those were ruling the network security, especially network firewalls. You had okay, one second. Let me start from this. Okay, 2010. So now it's 2023. So it's like a 13 years old report. You will see that Juniper and Checkpoint were part of leaders, and Cisco, FortiGate, McAfee, they were a part of challengers. And where was Palo Alto? Palo Alto was visionaries, right? And then see the transition. The next report in 2018, you can see Palo Alto is already in the top one. You have Fortinet, you have Checkpoint, you have Cisco. And where is Junos now? Junos is come down to the third quadrant. You can see the next report, 2019. Again, Checkpoint, Fortinet, Palo, Cisco, Juniper is over here. And as of now, the latest report, you can see that the challenger Cisco is something which is, intermediate of leaders and challenger. I don't say it's a bad product or something, but it's like some quarter they performed very well compared to competitors. They launched a new features, etc. So might be there's chances they get into this, or sometimes they just fall in challenger. Okay, so this is just it's a just visualization to show you what are the top five technologies that you have in the network security. So Palo is one of them, Checkpoint, FortiGate, and definitely the Cisco products. So you should consider them a top priority to know this product. So if you know one or two, might be now you have to pace up to learn the rest. But if you know, if you've been from the routing switching background, so it's better that you learn all the 4 and 5 products. All right, so that's about the quadrants and the top technology. There are definitely n number of other vendors. You have CyberRoam, you have Sophos, you have multiple products, but we will not be able to cover everything. So we are focusing on those products which are on a top leader quadrant. All right. So see, this is a general discussion. So what do you understand by network firewalls? So I can unmute you guys. If you want, you can just unmute yourself and give me your point of idea. So what do you understand by network firewalls? Anyone who is having a bit of knowledge? So anyone who is from the network security or any brief understanding, if it's not right, it's fine.
Yeah, hi, Jagmal this side. So it's about like to provide the security to our network from like external malware and something else.
Correct. Yeah. So yes, that's correct on the terms of what's uh, security context. Okay. So if I ask you, how is it different from a router or a switch? So do you have any ideas about it?
Yeah, like switch and router provide us a security like through ACL only. But in this, we can make some rules to segregate how the access will work.
Okay, fair enough. Okay, see, if you know about router and switches, which layer do they work?
Like switch work on the
Layer 2 and layer 3.
and three.
Layer 2 and layer 3.
And the
What about
switches are
firewalls?
Firewall
now
work.
the current generation 7,
Up to layer
like
7.
next generation for
The
layer 7
application
layer
level
7.
security is possible via our firewall.
Yes, so starting with layer 2, you can have till layer 7. Okay, so firewalls of different types are available. You can get a firewall which is just layer 3 and 4. You can also get a next gen firewall which can do up to layer 7 as well. Okay. Now, what is the default features that you default packet flow that you see in the case of router switches? Let's say a packet just trying to enter. What will happen to that packet in the case of router and switch?
It will check the source and destination IP.
Yes, so it will basically check the routing table, correct? So it will check the
Yes,
routing table in the case of routers, and in the case of switches, it will check a chef table or a
address,
MAC address table.
MAC address.
Right? It will see whether the destination is present in the routing table and then just pass on that packet outside. If we don't see, then it will just drop it because it is unaware where to send that packet. So how would you expect that it will send to someone? But what will happen in a firewalls then? If a packet is just entering, so what will happen? Is it still checking that routing or chef table, or what happens here?
It will check the source IP, destination IP, port number.
Okay, so you mean to say first it will check the rules, security
Yes,
rules, correct? So see, by default, you have a implicit deny here. In the case of firewalls, you have a implicit deny. So any packet on a day one, if you just have kept a firewalls powered on, put into your network, it is having a implicit deny. So any packet who is trying to enter, it will just get dropped. Okay, they're just getting dropped. They're not going to process. The routing table, MAC table comes in a later on stages. The first thing that it will check is whether you have a needful ACLs or security policy. Now if the ACLs say that yes, allow this traffic, let's say source 1.1.1.1, destination 2.2.2.2, and port number 80. Now, this is something added in the ACLs of this firewall. And now you receive a very matched up traffic. You have 1.1.1.1 trying to reach the other side, that is destination, which is 2.2.2.2. Now this traffic is trying to enter. You have a ACL which is set to allow the traffic, right? Now it will do the next step here. Then then it will check whether it's a traditional firewalls like ASA or it's a next gen firewalls like Palo Alto or FortiGate or Firepower. And depending upon the nature of firewall, it will do the next step. It can, if the traffic was encrypted, it will unencrypt. If it was natted, it will unnat. If it has to go through the deep packet inspection to just crack upon the packet and see what's the content of this particular packet, whether it's a JPEG format or it's a video format. It will do the packet inspection there, and then it will do the needful assignment. Because see, when we go with next generation, it's more about deep packet inspection. That means it can check the content type and then do the needful thing. If I say that if it's a PDF type of format, then just deny it. I don't want any sort of downloads happening. Or if I say that if it's a this format extension, then deny this. Only allow might be let's say JPEG. Those are file extensions, right? So those properties I can add it in the case of next gen firewall rules. So there is a huge list of process that happens in the case of firewalls. If we talk about a simple ASA firewall, right, it will itself check multiple steps here. It will see whether the source is matched up, whether the destination IP is matched, whether that port number is being matched, and then it will see whether the connection is already present or not. Connection is present, yes or no. If connection is present, then it will bypass couple of steps. Then it will do the L2, L3 checkup, and then the packet will go out. But if it is not in the connection table, then it will do the needful things. Then it will go into the existing interface. Then it will check the L2 and L3, and then it will go out. So it's bit of number of steps that you see when compared to a router and switch. Router and switch are plain enough. You send something, it will check the routing table or MAC address table and forward the traffic. In the case of firewall, even a simplest to simple firewall will do a kind of its pattern for traffic flow here. And if it is a next gen firewall, then you have at least 15 to 20 steps that occurs in a let's say Palo Alto or FTD or any next gen firewalls. It will check IPS, it will check the antivirus has been enabled, it will see the file content, it will see the layer 4 traffic, the layer 4 headers. So multiple things that happens in the firewall point. But in short, by default, routers are allowed to the traffic. And in this firewall case, by default, it is implicit deny. So this is one of the important thing that you will hear about a firewalls. One is by default allow. How do you block it? Now, let's say if you wanted to block it, then you will add certain ACL. You will say that if something is coming from 1.1.1 and if it is trying to reach 2.2.2.2 for port number 80, then definitely you can make use of either standard ACLs and extended ACL. But again, when there are too many blockage required, you cannot keep writing the manual ACLs either, right? If you have to write 1 or 2, it's fine. But if you have to write daily, let's say 10 ACLs to block certain thing, then this router switch is not be a valid components that you should have it. It will be the firewalls which you should take it. So where do we deploy the firewalls? Any idea about the deployment of a firewalls in a network domain? So let's say if I go with the 3-tier architecture. So where do you think we can deploy the firewalls?
Yeah, after switch, after L3 switch, the main exit point of any organization.
You
Could
mean
be
to
used at the edge. It could be used to segment the network.
You
Uh,
mean to say we can
yeah,
deploy?
yeah. According to the OSI model, we used to deploy it in a layer 3, and as well as it depends on the requirement too. We can deploy it as a layer 2 device as well.
Yes, that's right. Now, let's say we are using firewall in a layer 3 itself. So where would be the right ways to install it? A layer 3 firewall. So this is your core, this is your distribution layer, and these are access layer.
Yeah, we can deploy it in a core layer.
Okay, so can I remove this router and keep a firewall itself?
Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah.
yes, you can. I've seen that
Yeah,
scenario.
Okay. Uh, if that is the case, then you might have some interviewer asking you if you can replace a router with firewall, then why don't you, in a different enterprise see the firewalls being used, but you will still see that a router has been used as a edge devices, right? So this is very much frequently asked question. They will try to sense your understanding about the topic. So how well you are aware of this topic.
Mm. So if we are using the if we are not using the routing protocols on the firewall, we cannot replace the router in place of the you know with the firewall. But then if we are okay to use the routing protocol as well along with the firewall features, we can go ahead and replace it. But otherwise, we have a router and then after the router have the firewall
Yeah, again,
yeah.
that depends on, if it's a small scale or it's a large scale or it's a mid scale.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay. So depending upon this factor, the design guys can cut down some cost cuttings here by excluding a router with a firewalls, considering the fact that they will enable the NAT and routing protocol on the firewalls itself. And it's doable. Firewalls can do routing as well. That's why we said it's a device which can work L2 to L7. So it can have the features enabled, but only the concept is in which scenario. If it's a large scale company where you are expecting the throughput, data traffic throughput might be in 1 gigabits per second, so that's a huge traffic. Sending this much of traffic to a single device and you keeping all the things in one device, there can be chances the overhead of the device is increasing, which will result in a drop of a packet or queue of a packet. So it's something about the design also. Sometimes if it is a small scale where you are expecting just a 2 to 10 users in a branch, and you're expecting a simple monitor tool or a simple tool access, etc., so in that case the design team can consider, why should we spend money on a firewall plus a edge router? Why don't we enable all the features in a firewall and get the job done for this branch? So it's sometimes about the uh, enterprise or the branch where you are deploying this. But yes, we can make a firewall act as a router by enabling all BGP, OSPF, ERGRP in this firewalls. Plus we can do the NAT concept. We can also, let's say if this was a basic version of a Palo Alto, you can also do the all antivirus, etc., on this. But it's about the load that you want to handle this Palo Alto. And when you decide about considering the models, the design team will check the data flow of the devices. Okay. So data sheet, it's called as a data sheet. If you open a data sheet for a Palo Alto firewalls, this is something which people would check before considering the purchase. So let's say if I go into, See, these are the different hardwares of Palo Alto. Every vendor has a specific hardware version, which you will be more considering when you are into that implementation and design teams. So you can see that the different sections that these are being segmented to. It's about the throughput, it's about the threat prevention throughput, it's the IPsec VPN throughput, it's the new session that the device hardware can handle it, the maximum session that it can handle. So these are some factors which will be checked upon while you purchase this models. So starting with a very basic version 50 to 20 series till 70-80 series, you can see there is a lot of up and downs with respective to each factor. So you had something for 15 gigs bit per second till 595 gigabit per second. So depending upon the hardware, the price will also increase. Might be this started with a very small pricing of 5,000 USD, and this will end up going with 85,000 USD. So a company who has a branch just opened in certain region with 2 to 5 employees might be doing a work from office, so they will definitely not put something of this worth. They might go with this, or they might find a alternative, let's say Cisco ASA, or might be a FortiGate lower version. They will see the things. The main intention could be 10 users connected to firewalls at the same time, right? Or they might expect that this 10 users might be accessing this application, might be this would be taking this much of data. So this is something that they would be considering upon. Okay, so come back. One aspect of keeping a firewall could be on the edge. Either you can replace a router and make that firewall act as a both router plus firewall, or you can also keep it next to the router itself. So let's say you have a router deployed, edge router, which would be doing the work of connecting to the ISPs. So let's say you have a BGP and NAT connection over here, and this is the ISP termination. And just for that next gen firewall concept, you can install the firewalls here. So all the packet filtering, the IPS, IDS, the anti-spyware, malwares, all those things would be inspected at this level. So this is again a core the deployment. Sometimes some traffic can be even sent out without the involvement of a router. That we can do the traffic deviation. There are certain policy based routing that we can enable over on the firewalls. So all the majority of the traffic I can send it. Let's say all the all the incoming traffic I can send to router to firewall. The packet will inspect and then it will reach to the users. But there could be chances when a user generated traffic, you don't want to load it to the router. Might be you have a different service provider to handle that, a backup link to handle that. Okay, 2 Mbps link. Now what you can do, you can enable policy based routing in a firewalls. You can say that if the traffic is originated by this LAN user, you can consider it taking this. So this is just to done so that the routers are not bombarded with lot of traffic. Otherwise, you can still keep it moving to the router itself, and the router will be the person who will send it to the ISP, and then it will take care of it. So again, this is from that edge point of view. Apart from this, you will also see one more place where the firewalls can be kept. Let's say this is your core. You have the distribution layer. And now you have access layer switches. And let's say you have multiple servers belonging to different groups. If you are into a product based company, then definitely they will have multiple teams. Let's say this is a DB server, this is a app server, right? Let's say this is an Oracle database team. Okay, let's say you have this, let's say if you know the SAP HANA, or you have a SAP cloud, you have MS cloud. So these are all kept within the enterprises, within a single enterprises. Now you might have a firewall already deployed at this in the edge layer, but the problem is that to have have a kind of a granular control, you do not want the servers or the users being engaged by the non technical teams, or in non related teams. So in this case, what we can do is we can also keep our firewalls somewhere here and configure the L3 network for those in this firewall. Okay. Otherwise, where do you configure the gateways? Might be you create those network here, the L3 network. Let's say if this is 192.168.10.100. So its gateway would be here, 192.168.100.1. Similar way, let's say you have an app server, which is 192.168.2.1/24. You have a gateway over here. And you know that the switches do not do the implicit deny. So a app server can talk to a DB server. DB server can talk to the SAP cloud. The SAP cloud can talk to the rest of the internal servers. And this is where you need the granular control. And what you do is all the critical servers, let's say all the servers which is belonging to the customers, you can make those gateways in a firewalls. Okay. And now what happens? You over here would configure the gateway pointing to that particular firewall. Now you know that concept of the implicit deny. So by default, they will not be able to talk. So you as a network security team, you will receive a ticket saying that from this source, this destination, for this port, please allow the traffic. Okay. And then you go to the firewalls and you will do the needful security policies, and you can test the traffic. And that's how that, the internal servers or the users, whoever is testing, they can get access to that particular end servers. So some enterprise, they do it, some they do not do it. If it is just a normal users, etc., they will only keep it in the core layer. But if it is more about, the allotment of servers to customers, etc., might be you have various servers, various users accessing it. You will see that your network is too much noisy, latency is more. So this is where the people, they can plug another firewalls to control that noise. Okay, unnecessary noise, by giving all the gateways to the firewalls and creating those L3 network inside the firewall for such servers. Okay, so this is where you can keep it. Apart from this, depending upon the type of firewalls, you have something called, if you know, web-based firewalls, or a proxy-based firewalls. So usually these are in the web-based ones. Okay, so they might be configured in a web-based, and that's again a type of a different firewalls, which we will see that. So see here, if you check it out in terms of the types of firewall, packet filtering is a traditional firewall, and the example for it is a Cisco ASA. Circuit level gateway, yeah, this is something which is something to handle the TCP levels, only TCP levels. Whereas in the packet layer, it is only going to check the source and destination and the port number and nothing else. Then comes the stateful inspection. Inspection in the sense, the traffic that originated from source to destination, the record of that would be stored in the stateful table of a firewall. And when you are expecting the written traffic, you don't need to add a bidirectional for such traffic. It will be already in the stateful table, and that will be allowed. Okay, something like let's say the traffic originated from 1.1, it hits on the firewall and it is subjected to reach 2.2.2. Now, if this is allowed, first thing, if it is allowed, then a stateful table is being created, auto-created, and a record will be stored in that. The record will say that the source from 1.1, destination from this, and port number this has been originated. Now, the traffic coming to the same source over on the same port number, and if it find a table connection, you do not need another policy to allow it. It will come automatically. Okay. So that is something called stateful inspection. Apart from that, you have a unified threat management, something to do with the IPS and IDS concept. Earlier days, this used to be a component within earlier time, this component used to be a add-on feature. So if you know, let's say if you have a ASA firewall or something, we had to install that module. Okay, one add-on modules. But nowadays, most of the next-gen firewalls has this features inside it. You just have to add the needful license to get that activated. So you don't need to buy another module or hardware to do that. And with respective to next-gen firewalls, you can see there are two things here. One is next-gen and one is the threat-focused next-gen. The next-gen properties, I'll tell you in some time, all the additional things that it can do, like deep packet inspection, then the app awareness, the anti-spyware, okay, the IPS, IDS, the cert, self-cert, the encapsulation, decapsulation, the VPN concept. So these are few things that a next-gen firewall can do. Whereas a threat-focused is something more related to intelligence factor of a next-gen firewall. That means if there was, let's say I have a firepower here, and there was a packet which might be for some reason just entered into the environment, and you've got the report later after some time that this device is now infected with a virus. So now you will get into the appliance, you will do the troubleshooting to see which all devices might have been infected now. Because what happens once that antivirus that virus reach here, there is chances that all other devices that you have, it would have spread across to them, it would have infected them, right? So threat focused is a feature where you will see all the things that in a network is being hit by this malware or this virus, and you can either cut down them, mitigate the process, and then you can bring it upon. Okay, so I have some screenshot as well just to show you how this threat focused happens. So this is from a Firepower device, okay, captured from the Cisco's Firepower. So what happens in this is, let's say you just get to see the file trajectory. A file was downloaded at certain time, and you see the trajectory here. You will see that at 1610 it is infecting this devices. Okay, so you see that at certain time this went to this, this went to this, might be that went to the next devices. Okay, and you will get to know what all devices are being infected. See, you have this infection. Now what happens is you can cut down this. These are a PCs. This can be PC, this can be a server, right? So you can cut down them, and you can mitigate the process. You can rectify, run some antivirus, or you can delete the complete files, etc., and then restore them. So this is a threat focus where you can see from an overview that where the file was downloaded and what happens to that infected machine, etc. Okay,
Sir,
this is about all this. I would not go into much of.
Sagar,
Yeah, go ahead.
I just wanted to know one thing. So basically, what is the difference between UTM and next generation firewall? Just apart from the module, is there any other difference?
See, UTM is for IPS purpose. IPS, intrusion prevention system.
Mhm.
Okay, whereas the next gen firewalls are for packet filtering. So the goal is different for IPS and IDS. It's the malware or virus, the main concept, to block them, to detect them, and stop them. Whereas for this, it's about the packets. Okay, type of packet it could be. Is it allowed or it's denied? So
Mhm.
it's a two different objectives of two different modules.
Okay, so like the UTM cannot perform as a next generation firewall, right?
Yes, this will not be doing a packet filtering. The work of this is to see if that packet has a virus or malware, and if we put a needful license to them, then they can also in a real time check with the let's say Cisco has something called Telos, a online cloud, to show what are being blacklisted or etc. And in a real time, it can block that.
Mhm.
So it is a two different goals by two different components.
So, like from the interview perspective, if someone asks what is the difference between UTM and next generation firewall, so we can say like UTM perform only IDS and IPS services, while next generation perform the packet inspection.
Yes, packet inspection. Yes.
So that will be the vital differentiation, right?
Correct. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
All right, so I'll move on to a quick demonstration of the lab because from the next class, however, we are starting with the theory. So I don't want to bore you guys with too much of theory today. So see, let me give you a bit of feel of the lab. So let's say this is a Palo Alto Lab. And as I told you, the objective of the sessions are you get hands-on experience. So these are all on a blank configs. There would be nothing config here. So you will attend the live class, and then you will do it at your free time or whenever you are free and you are performing the lab. And at that time, if you face any challenge or any issues, you can take a screenshot, you can put it across on our WhatsApp, or we have a even a special email DL, and we will take up that answer at the same time. So you don't have to wait for the next live session to clear your doubt. And regards to this to the to perform the lab, see, when we power on the instances, let's say we have some test PC, we have a layer 2 device, we have a Palo Alto device. So you will double click on them. It will open up the needful console. You have the default things being shared with you in the format of workbook, and you can do the needful commands, etc., to get that management IP. So let's say if I want to check the management IP. So right now, this is my management IP 24.231. So let's say 172.16.24. I think it was 231. It's a HTTPS. So we log into the device graphical interface. So from the day one, we will go in a systematic order. First point or first topic for Palo Alto, which I normally take, is administration part. Okay. So I have my own notes. Let me just show you. See, for example, when I start with any devices, first I make sure I completely show the in and out about the product. So first we will see all the management related config. It could be banner creation. It could be the message or logos that you want to change on the devices. It could be export of a firewall backup or import of it, creation of administrators, right? The bootstrap process, telemetry. So all the administration part would be handled in the first step. It will take 2 to 4 class or might be 6, 7 sessions sometime. Then we get into the networking module of that firewall, where we expect to do the layer based configuration. It could be creation of a NAT role. It could be security zones. So more about the networking concept, and that's how we proceed it. Okay, so if you see in the first few sessions, we will be talking about how do we access a Palo Alto management. It could be via HTTP, it could be via CLI, it could be via a automation process, or it can also be from that centralized manager called Panorama. So these are the ways we can access the appliances. How do we launch the web interfaces, right? So you know that by default the management interface there are always a dedicated management interface on most of the firewalls. So if I put a cable to that management interface and connect it to my DHCP server, I am expected to get an IP to that particular interface. If you see here, I am using a dedicated MGMT interface. See, if I just disconnect this, let me just unlock the lab. You can do all the unlock log just to avoid any mistake, human error. So let's say if I delete this, let me delete one from here. See, let me delete this. Usually, what type of interface we see in the devices? We will see a management and we will see the data plane interfaces. So how do we lay a cable? If I take a cable and just drop it over in the DHCP cloud, it will be prompting me what interface I want to connect it. I have a dedicated interface in most of the firewalls like Palo, FTD, FortiGate. We will see a dedicated interface, and we can connect to that management interface itself. Now, these management interfaces are like play and plug. You put something to that as and connect it to the DHCP, you are expected to receive that IP, and you can easily log in via your graphical interface that we just were doing it some time back. I think it was here. See, it was here. So it's like a play and plug. This is just to, to have that ease of starting with the things. In older time, if you remember, we used to keep the hardware in our desk. We used to connect that console cable. We used to bring that hyper terminal software. Then it used to load. Then we used to configure some management IP, certain some line VTY config, give that access to the remote guy. Nowadays, it's very simple. There is one interface which will be play and plug. You connect to that, and you can get the access to that graphical instantly. And if you don't give that, if you, let's say you don't have a management, you don't have that DHCP server, you by default will receive a static IP for a management interface. That will be something in this range, 168 1 dot let's say 245. So in that scenario, what you need to do, you need to have one PC, bring that in the same LAN, connect it, then do the needful change. You can disable static and bring up the DHCP, or you can disable DHCP, bring up static. That's all up to your design. Okay, it can differ from design to design. Some guys will have a DHCP in their production. You can instantly bring it up. Some may not have it. So in that case, you have to know how to bring up that. So what I normally do is I have, I'll just show you. So I maintain certain things for Palo Alto. It looks something like the CLI command. Though we don't use CLI much for this next gen firewall, but there are certain times when this these are like lifesavers for you. See, this is one command which will easily help you to bring the DHCP. This is for to bring up the static. So depending upon design, we never know how do we access them. So that's the main thing in the next gen firewall, that how do you access them. In my case, I have a DHCP. I easily could access to this. If I don't have a DHCP, then I have to bring this PC in the same range of that static IP, and then I need to access it. Then I can put down this commands, change from static to DHCP, and then get it to my level, right? So the vendors will give you the needful things, but we need to be aware how do we bring that in the life. Okay. All right. So when you come to the dashboard, this is where most of the administration things happen. Under device, setup, management, you can change the NTP, host name, the certificates, banners, logos. These are something which is from the management perspective, the load or export, etc., etc. For creation of administration, creation of roles, creation of authentication profiles. All right. So this is somewhere where you will do the management. This is the network tab where you would be doing the networking concept. Creation, let's say the configuration of interfaces. You want an interface in a layer 2 or layer 3, or you want in a tap. Tap is like net flow concept, span concept. Your firewalls are not in the intermediate path, but still you have a way to see the traffic, what type of traffic. Say, for example, let's say I have some switch here, and I have another switch here. So might be this is connected to some PCs or some servers. Now, if I keep firewalls, let's say this was connected to gig port 0/1, and this is connected to 0/2. I can have another interface which is connected to some syslog things, right? So what happens is, now I can make this interface act as a tab. So the traffic which is going across here will be sent to this. Sorry, I am not sharing the screen. Okay. So the traffic which is passing across here, the copy of that will be sent across on this monitor via the interface being in a tab configuration. Now you can see what type of application is running, what type of service are running. That could be for your monitoring purpose, to see the behavior of your traffic that's been flowing across the two network. Okay, so different ways that we can configure the interface, something from L2, L3, virtual wire. Virtual wire is in the sense bump in the wire, where you keep a device in a transparent mode. L2, L3, HA, as the name suggests, high availability interfaces, right? So this is interface. You have zones. So what is zone? A zone basically in firewalls. Let's say if you name them as outside zone and this as inside zone. So now there are two different zones here. And to allow from a zone to zone, you might have a security policy needed. Right? So this is also a feature which you don't see in router or switches, which you only see in the case of firewalls. You can have different type of zones. Let's say you want to name a zone called customer A and keep the keep the devices in that particular zone. You want to keep another separated zone, and you want to call it customer B, and you have certain servers over here, right? This is just to segment the things rather than keeping it all in one LAN. Might be you have some DOS attack or some DDoS attack, all of the servers going down. You can keep them in a segmented way, so that even at any attacks, if there are certain servers which are down, might be the rest of the things are not been hampered. So something for that, we can keep a zone. Also, you have that granular control now on what to allow from customer A, whom to allow to customer A. VLANs, definitely, because we would be configuring subdomains. You know that the firewalls can have a trunk interface on them. So that is when you have, let's say, sales team and finance team over on a same interface. So that interface can be now shared between two different VLAN, VLAN 100 and VLAN 200, right? So the concept of VLANs would come up. Virtual wires are like VRF concept. So you have, let's say, 5 customer. You want to keep all the routings separated to each other. So you can go and create different sorry, not virtual wires. I'm talking about virtual routers. So virtual routers are like the VRF concept. So let's say you have customer A as a routing table, or customer 1. You can select which interface you are expecting to be part of that into this virtual router. By default, you will have a default. By default, all the traffic, all the routes you will be seeing in a virtual router default, but you can also segment them. If you know, in a enterprise, there is VRF concept. So it's very similar in a Palo Alto virtual router. Then
So,
you have all, yeah, go ahead.
So
Yeah.
like when it comes to the virtual router, so just suppose I think these firewalls doesn't have much interfaces, right? So they might be having 3 or 4 interfaces.
Yes.
And just suppose I have 10 customers and I created 10 virtual routers. So how they gonna connect it?
See, these interfaces are reusable as well. So if you see here, it is depending upon which protocol you are allowing on those interfaces.
No, so
Okay.
like I'm talking about the physical connectivity. So just suppose I have customer A. For that, I created a RIP and I assigned this virtual router to interface 1, right?
Mm-hmm.
Same
See,
way.
See, I got your question. See, what we will do is we will create sub interfaces in that case. If you have shortage of interfaces and you have different number of customer on different number of VLANs, you can create subdomains on them. And then those individual domains, individual interfaces, you can call it on a virtual router.
So again, this physical interface will start acting as a sub interfaces like we do in switches, SVI kind of.
Yes, SVI concept.
Okay.
Okay.
So in the when it comes to the like virtual interface, so or the sub interfaces, so there will be there any specific kind of tagging or something like
Correct.
or with the help of the traffic can be identified or rectified?
Yes, we will be tagging the VLAN to them.
Okay.
Okay, see here, when we go to this, so when let's say we have a sub interfaces, we go to a VLAN, we will add this, and we can tag which VLAN we are adding to that particular thing. So I can create a new VLAN. I can say it's VLAN 100 and then map it. Okay, it's very similar to the MLS SVI, but here you will have a different ways to configure it on the graphical interface.
Okay.
Okay, so we can have a loopback interface, a different tab for that. We have a tunnel, we have a SD-WAN interface. Okay, see, when you tag them, you will see those tags. So this is a different tag. This is not about a VLAN tag. You basically will see them just below this. So below
Okay.
1/1, you will start seeing the new interfaces like 1/1.100, 1/200, 1/300.
Okay.
And they will be with the tagged VLANs.
All right. Understood.
Okay. So this is basically all the configs that you do. Network block it is. IPsec, GRE, you can have the profiles, etc. And that firewalls have a concept of object groups where you want to minimize the number of rules or number of or you can club the number of users in a single object and call it in a security policies, right? So this is where we do them. It's like you have two users from the same LAN. Why do you need two different lines for it? You can put them in one group, and that group you can call it in a single policy. So for especially for that point, we use this, and we have multiple combinations. We can have it region based, we can have user group, we can have application group, we can have service group. More from the usage point of view. This is where the policy will come. Policy in the sense there would be 5 to 7 policies now. Security policy, NAT policy, QoS, policy based forwarding, decryption policy, tunnel inspection, application override, authentication, DOS, SD-WAN. So all the policies are kept under the policy tab of a Palo Alto. Okay, so when you have a need for add a NAT rules or NAT policy, then it's where you come here, and over on the bottom you will see that add option, and then you will apply the needful things to this. Same goes with, let's say, policy based forwarding. You will have that option called add. You will open that, you will say what source, what destination, what is the forwarding interface should be for that policy based, and you will add it here. Okay. Coming, yeah, go ahead.
Please click on object once. Object tab.
Yeah.
Okay. So, all right. So here we'll create the code, and in the policy tab we'll create the policy.
Yes, here we will create all the objects. Let's say I have object XY something, object, let's say TCP something, and I create the IP. It will ask me whether you want to put a range or FQDN or net mask. Let's say it's 1.1./24. If I have to tag them, so this tag is like a color coding. If it is a PDF, I can give a tag of red to them. So it will help me as a color coding point of view. Okay, so see, one object is created. When I commit it, when I save it, when I go to the policy section, when I go to the security tab, when I click on the add, then those objects that I have created, they can be called up in the source or destinations, etc. Okay. Or if you want, you can also create something here. Let's say TCP, add it. You have, let's say, the destination here. You want to add something for, let's say, 8.8.8, which is the internet. So you can do it this way by calling them. So the thing is, when you add that object, you have to commit it. You know the concept, right? These next gen firewalls do not do the changes in a real time. They have a one layer of additional feature which on approval will fall under the appliances. Otherwise, they are just a changes that's been over on the graphical interface. So this is something. These are the add-on things. So you can even open this. When you go to the preview changes, you can see what are the changes that's waiting for you to approve. So you can see this. So in a running config, you do not have the things like object group, but there is the candidate config which is having this to be added. And upon your commit, you can see that this will go and sit here. And that is where you can start calling them in a security policy. So this is a additional layer of security, so that someone just come here, add something, might be that will bring down certain things in the firewalls, right? So you can also set a rule who can allow this or approve this. That all comes in the device and in the case of administrator. So if he's a super user, then he can commit it. But if you create another user and say that he's a role-based user, and you put certain options to him, let's say when you go to a new admin rule, you can select what that person can do, whether he's a read-only guy, right? So you can untick them. If it's a green, that means he can do everything on them. He can monitor, he can do the policy, he can do object, he can do network, device, he can reboot a device, he can validate, he can see commit the device. So it's up to the administrator initially what and whom can allow this commit approval. So if I create a user and say that this is a read only, and basically then the person will only do the read only access to that, just to do a basic level of inspection to see if the rules are allowed or not. But I want some admins in every shift that who can also allow the changes that was been proposed by another user. So usually what these guys do, they will once have a check to see if it is a needful rule, and then they will allow this. Okay. So that's again one sort of layer which can help you to approve or, to bring down your devices or some issues with the things that you can just have this. All right. So I was talking about the monitor tab. Now, monitor tab is where you will see all the log messages, real-time log messages. So whatever was configured, the traffic being allowed or denied, if it's related to URL filtering or if it's related. So it's more of the log messages. We definitely collect this log in a syslog. The reason is these are let's say for some reason the Palo was restarted, then you will miss all these logs here. So when we are creating the policies, when I click on the add, there is an option to send them to an external servers. See, if you log them at start and end, you can configure those syslog, external syslog server. So you can say that ext server, external server 7.7.7, and you can configure those servers here. Okay, all of them, the server, syslog server, or whatever STP logs or emails or SNMP, you can take them. All the traffic copies will go and sit across them. So it will help you to see like if there was any outage or if the URL bounced or if there was a deny statement, etc., will be safely stored in some external log servers. And this is something to do with application control command, ACC, which will actually show you the overview picture of your enterprise, like what type of environment you have. It will be like a risk factor. So you see in this right hand side, you have something all in safe, then green. If you see there are 2 or 3 devices which got been detected as a malware, you will see the risk factor increasing. So it's like a non-technical person. If we give him an access, so how would he, just by seeing the chart or the graph, would visualize how safe is this network or his network. So if we see everything in green on this tab, then he do not need to worry. But he see something being red, then there is something which is might be not in a best practice. Might be he's not using HTTPS. Might be he's not having a good licenses for the respective features that he could have enabled. If you go to network, if you go to let's say here, see, these are the things which runs on only when there is a needful license. So if you don't have the license, then there could be the risk involved with respective to an application, to respective to an file that's been downloaded, or could be the user activity. See the tabs here: application usage, user activity, destination, source IP activity. So it's like the risk factor that's involved, that's been sensed by this Palo Alto smartly, and it is giving you an output in a color coding format. Okay, a very much used feature. And then comes the dashboard, which is the main page of your graphical interface. These are all widgets. You can just add the widgets, you can remove them, you can just align them as per your need. So if you see here, these are the general information about that instance. These are like number of users logged in currently. These are the system logs. These are that risk factor, and so on. Okay, these are something which you can also add. If you want to make it 2 column, you want to make it 3 column. This is something which is customizable. So this is something the look and feel of a Palo Alto graphical interface. Each and every next gen devices have its own tabs, columns, and different ways to apply the config, pull the logs, etc. So that is why the codes that we have designed is from the production point, where you will be interacting with all the technologies one by one. First, let's say Palo, then ASA, then 40, then Checkpoint, F5 LTM. And once you complete them, all the 4 to 5, then this lab would be given to you with certain task, and we expect you can do more hands-on, try to do the might be the firewall policy. If you want to do L2 L3, you can do them. You can see the exact troubleshooting. So this is what is firewall mastery about. Okay, 5 in 1, and you get a intense lab workout for this particular course. So this is for Firewall Mastery, and this is for CCIE Sec version 6.1. So in last 2 classes, including let's say today and yesterday, I have tried to cover the feel for each module or each course. Now it's up to you what you decide and what you want to enroll it, depending upon what's your level of experience that you're right now is. If you're just a beginner, like 1 or 2 years, then I would prefer you taking the Firewall Mastery. If you're someone who is already 8 years, 10 years experience, already worked on a network security or enterprise, then it's time to get into that CCIE Security version 6.1. Both the batches are starting from the next weekend. So let me put down the timings for the batches. So CCIE Sec is Saturday and Sunday, 9 p.m. to let's say 11 p.m. India time. And the Firewall Mastery would be again Saturday, Sunday. It would be 7 to let's say 9 or 8:30. So someone who is taking both, you can consider them because they are not gonna overlap. You can take both. Okay, that's something which someone is looking into. Or if you are taking up any one, then plan it accordingly. This is what the time schedule for the same. Okay, we are giving you the lab access for each and everything, but if you also wanted a home lab, then we will also help you with the deployment. We have the ready-made OVA files which we will deploy it on your machine over on a Ultra Viewer or AnyDesk.
Okay, and what is the duration of the Firewall Mastery course?
It will be 6 months. Both are individually 6 months.
Okay. And for firewall, we have 2 hours of session, and for the CCIE security, it's 1 hour, right?
No, this is 11. I said this is also 2 hours, and this is
Okay.
also 2 hours.
Got it.
Okay, and yes, the question is about home lab. So as I told you, we have all the ready-made OVA files. We will help you with the installation. But if the devices are not capable, then we are not responsible, because we have seen in past sometimes the virtualization don't support, sometimes the RAMs are not enough. So in that cases, we cannot help you with the home lab. Otherwise, in a usual scenario, like if you have anything like 20 plus GB or 32 GB, we have seen student using our ready-made labs onto their home lab setup.
And Sagar, one more
Yeah.
thing. In case if someone is going for firewall mastery class, so the F5, that is load balancer, so they can also have their own lab setup in their own machine, right? For the F5.
Yes, correct. all the lab setups are available for each one of them.
Okay.
So this type of home lab you will receive on your machine.
Mhm. Okay, got it.
Okay, so you guys are logged. You guys have already registered to the Zoom meeting. So my team member, one of my team member, will contact you, and you can reply back to the same, and that's how the admission process happens. Okay, so you already might have my direct number as well, but if not, I'll just drop it. Otherwise, you are already registered over on the Zoom meeting, and you might be receiving the notification about the class start and recording. So you can reply to the same person, okay, and they will do the needful things. So let me put my email ID and the WhatsApp number. You can reach out to me directly. Normally, I don't do the admission process. There are separate people for that. So you can talk to them. You can check out if there is any further questions regards to the enrollment or anything regards to home lab setup. They are well aware of the things, and they will help you with the needful things. Okay. All right. So, if do you guys have any question?
Are we covering all the portions in the CCIE as like ASA and FTD here also?
Correct. So, someone taking the combo, the benefit is that that module is a repeat. So you can take the discount or waive off that particular module when you're taking both combo. Okay.
Okay.
So we will waive off that portion of ASA and Firepower from Firewall Mastery, and you can do the rest of it.
Okay.
Okay, I have one more question. How long do we have access to the lab and videos? See, at Network Journey, all the recordings that we provide is a lifetime accessible. And lab access, as I told you, remote labs, depending upon the course, let's say Firewall Mastery or CCIE Security, as I told you, they are a very long duration, so 1 year. Home lab again, which is on your machine, so it's again a lifetime. Okay.
So, Sagar, in case
Yeah.
if someone wants to set up the home lab, so what is the requirement? Like if someone has a 32 GB of RAM, i7 processor, will it be sufficient?
See, some of the labs you can run, especially like F5 or ASA, some instances from FTD. Palo you can run, FortiGate you can run if you have 32 GB. The multi-vendor will not be able to run on this, because this needs at least 100 GB because of all the instances you have. But yes, there is a trick that you can do. You can just power on those devices which you need for that task. So if you do that, then might be 32 should be sufficient. Okay. All right. So any further question?
Hello?
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, I want to any clarification regarding your lab.
Yeah.
Is there any limitation compared to the real, because you are using a virtual image? Is there any limitation compared to hardware?
No, nothing such. The limitation comes only in the license. Otherwise, it's all the same. Even if you know, nowadays the CCI tracks are conducted completely in a virtualized scenario itself. Just 5 to 10% we use hardware, but it's all virtualized concept now. So you will hardly see any changes between a hardware and a virtualized now.
Because my purpose of enrolling this course is for real experience, for online, hands-on online experience. So
Yes.
I want to know whether there will be a limitation about some feature the virtual lab will not be able to handle.
No, there will be no roadblock from the hardware or software deployment perspective. The limitation only comes from the license perspective. Even you have a hardware and you don't have license for certain feature, then it will not work. Same goes with the virtual thing. If you have a virtual installed but you don't have certain license, then that features don't work. So the limitation is from the license, but not from the rest of the things like interface config, security policy, NAT policy, VPNs. There is no problem at all. It's all the same. In the physical things, what happen might be we do the cabling, but in a virtual things, what happens, we just drag and drop it. So that's only certain things, a bit things which is a difference in a hardware and a software. Otherwise it's all the same. But when I am deploying a new lab, I will put a new node and then I'll show you how you connect it to a new PC, etc. How do you lay, and you can just visualize the that initial deployment. Okay, so first few classes I will go with a very small lab, then we can come up to a massive labs.
Okay, thank you.
All right, any further questions?
Sir, can
Yeah.
you hear me?
Yes, please.
Sir, if you want to get into the cybersecurity, either Firewall Mastery will help, or we have to do the score or so forth.
Cybersecurity, you mean to say?
Yeah.
For cybersecurity, I think Firewall Mastery will be much better because cybersecurity has its own topic. And if you have the firewall concept, that would be much better for you.
Okay, thanks.
All right, so guys, it was a nice interactive session, and hope you guys to see in the locked session. So talk to my team. You will receive the recording for today as well, and someone who missed for first day, you will get both the recording. Go through it, and then maybe you can take the decision of enrolling, and that's how we start from next weekend. Okay, so have a nice day and have a nice weekday ahead. Take care. See you in the next week.
Yeah, thank you.